Good morning, YouTube, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how I went to a regional, did the worst I've ever done at these kind of events, and still had a blast playing the game I love. Now, this isn't a video designed to change your perspective on the way how to play the game and convert you to my personal opinion. It's more so designed to give you another outlook as to what some other people that stay at the bottom tables, the aforementioned table 500 as people call it, and why people still stay and play at that point in time. So I hope you can take something from this video. Whenever I approach these kind of events, there's 3 reasons that I attend these. Number 1, and first and foremost, is the people. It's a game, okay? Usually games require 2 people to play in this kind of manner. It's a 2-person card game. You can play solitaire by yourself all the time, but this is a game that requires interaction, and especially for some people, I'm in education, and so I love to be around people and see how different people think and what I can learn from somebody completely new. One of my favorite things at the end of a game is to shake the opponent's hand or give them a fist bump and then talk to them about what they do. Whether they're a student in college, high school, maybe they're doing something with their lives. It was really cool. At this event, I met a person who's in a mariachi band, and that was super cool to find out. And the other thing about people is that you get to see people you don't get to see very often. I've moved to the Panhandle, which is where I grew up, of Oklahoma, which for those of you who don't know, this is what Oklahoma looks like. Okay, imagine this is the edge of it, and this is where the Panhandle is. Okay, I'm smack dab in the center. Okay, the regional I went to was way over here. That's hours and hours away, and it's the closest one we have. But I get to see friends from all over that I only see at these events. Some I've met a long time ago. Some of them I keep in touch with. A lot of them are friends from this channel that we've created, and it's just a good time to interact with those people. The second reason I go to these kind of events is to play the game that I love. I mean, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! Most of us, if not all of us, are some way or another have fallen in love with the show at one point in time of our lives, if we're a little kid or not. We fall in love with it, and it's just a game that we get to stay with. I mean, it's designed as a children's card game. Yes, it has evolved into something more than that, but at its core, it still is a children's card game. And, you know, it brings out the inner child in all of us. And then the third thing, which is the toughest thing of all, is acceptance. Now, this is something that some people do better than others. I always stay stay as long as I possibly can, depending on if my ride wants to stay, because losing is more difficult than winning. It's kind of strange to look at it this way, but whenever you lose a game, your spirits are down, because who wants to lose? Nobody wants to lose. It's inevitable to happen. You know, not only 1 or 2 people can go to these events and be undefeated. So an acceptance of losing and getting not what you always expect to have is just a part of life, and each time I lose, I feel a little bit closer to a little bit understanding it. Now, these past 2 events, you know, I usually have a blast, especially when I'm at the lower tables. I have a good time. You know, this last round, I was like, there was a guy I was sitting next to. I was like, yeah, I want to duel you, and we got paired against each other. Then we got repaired, and we still was paired against each other. And we were ready to have a good time, and then we got repaired again. And then my last opponent was not the nicest person. I mean, he's at the very end of it, he's like, so do you even play this game very well? And especially when you're at the lower tables, that's a little bit interesting to hear an opponent say. It's like, you know, question your ability to play the game. And then especially because a lot of other events, usually I either go even or I go plus. I rarely go negative at these events, and so that's why I always, I feel like, well, you know, and anyway, so it's an acceptance thing. There's some people that can handle loss so much better than other people that I envy them. I want to learn something from each of these losses. Like, I have a few little trigger things that people say, like if somebody says, I'm sorry I won, that really gets me, especially because, like, you're not in this game to lose, you're in this game to win. And so when someone says they're sorry, you know, they don't really mean it that way. Sorry is one of those words that we use too many times. But that's an entirely different rant. But an acceptance is the most important thing in this game that you have to figure out. Like, learn something from each one of these losses. See what you could have done better. Maybe it was just not your luck. Because in that last match, before our repairings, I won the first 2 dice rolls. And then the last repairing, I lost the dice roll. So you know, it could have gone completely different. There was a bunch of games where it's like, okay, I could have done this one thing differently, which I know I should have done, but I didn't do it. And so, if you take those three things into account, it's the fact that you're there for people. Okay, like if you're an introvert, I know a lot of people are. It's definitely a way to get you out of your shell. You know, even if there's just slight little interactions that you have with your opponent in terms of talking to them, it's a way to get you out of your shell and potentially develop that as a person. Second, you know, you get to play what you love. Understand at your core that you're playing this game because you love it. It doesn't matter if it's like it's a bad format, you know. If you're doing it for your own personal loving of the game, then you're winning. And then third, stay in it for the losses. Okay, stay in it for trying to understand yourself, how you react as a human being. If anything, it's for your own personal growth. It's a little bit of a before I wrap it up. My loss, I ended up going X and 6 at an 8-round event. Now that's something it's tough. It's difficult for me to say 8X and 6. 2 wins and 6 losses. Like my games were 9 wins and 12 losses, so statistically that was better. But that doesn't really matter from a match standpoint. I got 104th, which at this point in time, you know, when you go X and 6, most of the people have dropped, so there are only like 8 people that did worse than me. I took a deck that statistically had a really good chance of winning in my testing if I were to win the dice roll. Okay, now the dice roll, as you all know, is a 50-50 shot. So I was taking Thunder Lockdown, which if you open up Ties of the Brethren and Thunder Monster, you have a wonderful board. Every time I opened up that board against Goki, you know, I never had to worry about interruptions. I always got through all the interruptions. So whenever I went first and I had my hand, they couldn't do anything. I faced Goki 4 times. I faced Blue Eyes. I faced Chainburn, which is the only deck I 2-0'd. And then I faced Karibo, which is the only deck that 2-0'd me out of all things. And I faced Odd Eyes. All those decks, I knew I had a matchup. I could potentially win. So it wasn't even my deck from a standpoint. You know, if I went to these events with the mentality of winning, I would, of course, take one of the best decks. You know, like in this format, you know, it may change by the time you watch this video. It's Goki, Altergeist, Trickstar, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, that said all aside, just make sure and take a step back, especially because most of you have to travel a long ways home after you go to an event. Take a step back and see what it is why it is you play the game. And I hope next time you end up having a terrible day like me in terms of playing the game, you still have a great time in meeting new people and just meeting old people, you know, seeing friends that you haven't seen in forever, seeing people that you've seen at all the events, and maybe that is the time you introduce yourself. Maybe you find a card from the vendors that you haven't seen for a long time. Maybe just getting out of town. Like one of my highlights from it is I played Pokemon Go and I got the Celebi, you know, earlier than most people have. And so that was like a little bit of a highlight from it. But that's beside the point. Either way, enjoy the game, and I hope you can gather something from this video, because this is something that really is a passion for me. And I know there's so many people that drop out. You know, if it's still not your way to stay in the game and play and lose, then that's fine. But I hope you can, before you drop next time, you take a little bit longer and try and see what you can learn from losing. It's a difficult way to say, but thanks, and have a great day.